Hey, this is Advocate Nyari Mashayamombe, your empowerment advocate on Identities with Nyari Mashayamombe, the empowerment podcast. And I'm so happy today. I am joined by a fine gentleman, Alois Nyamazana. Before I preempt, I will just hand it over to him to introduce himself. Welcome, Alois.
Thank you so much, Advocate Nyari. Hello, viewers. I'm super excited being part of this conversation. My name is Alois Nyamazana, and I guide myself as a social justice advocate.
Right.
I work around...
Not gender.
Well, gender is also encompassed in that.
Right. Well, I know you as the children and gender, but
but I think I normally like the social justice aspect because I believe that we all deserve to be treated fairly, regardless of where a person coming from, regardless of gender. We all deserve to be treated fairly. Absolutely. So that's why I call myself a social justice advocate, and I'm a community development practitioner. I run an organization called Fathers Against Abuse. I work a lot with men to address issues around gender-based violence, positive masculinities, and all those things. And I'm also a very devoted Christian. I spend most of my time preaching and doing some work around marriage, marital counseling, and a lot of other things. Otherwise, that's what I can say.
Oh my God. So I love your smile. You're always smiling. And as a preacher, I guess you're really such a life giver. So I'm already feeling lots of life being given. And I love that you are a preacher and you talk to men around issues against gender-based violence and general empowerment. That's exactly why you're here. And so it's the social justice, especially focusing on gender equality and those issues that we invited you today. And our topic today is about love and how empowerment, especially for women. And our topic here today is about economic empowerment and love, especially exploring the fact that I think a lot of research shows that sometimes when women get married, they lose on economic empowerment, they lose on their ability to make livelihoods, be it they're occupying lower levels, be it that they generally come out of the working environment, or basically that there's a lot of spanners thrown at them to not be able to advance themselves. For me, just looking at those are that's usually the norm. Young women get married, they come out of employment, they come out of the liberties or other things they could easily do when they were still single, for example, when they could cross border, a lot of those opportunities. So we want to talk about that today.
Interesting conversation.
Thank you. So tell us about yourself. Basically, I know you're a writer. You write a lot about women, but how did you find yourself in social justice and especially around gender equality?
Thank you so much. When I graduated from university, I was doing a degree in sociology, and after graduating, I worked with a small NGO. That's what support. I was still a very young man immediately after university. So this NGO was actually providing some support to women, and mostly abused women. And as I sat down in workshops and group counseling sessions where women were sharing their experiences, I actually witnessed how gender-based violence mostly affects women and how it even affects their economic, progress and prosperity. I also then reflected on my personal life based on that experience. And then I realized that as I was growing up, I witnessed a lot of women being abused. And sometimes it was actually normalized. I remember my very close relatives, women who were sometimes abused by my uncles. And, at night they may be beaten, but when in the morning it would be like something never happened. Nothing happened. Because it was just normalized. So I just connected the dots when I was listening to the stories of these women. And also, then I told myself as a young man to say, you know what, I think this is not right. I need to speak against these atrocities. And, when I looked at it, it was also even normalized, even when the women were actually sharing their experiences. And I then said to myself, I need to act. I need to also add my voice in terms of addressing these issues. And like what you rightly said, I also noticed that there's a very strong link between lack of economic empowerment or economic disempowerment, should I say, and also vulnerability to gender-based violence. Because most of the people who are abused, they either get married earlier before they finish their school, they are too dependent on those perpetrators and all those things. So I then said to myself, no, let me also be part of the conversation. Let me also mobilize my fellow men so that we can also talk about this. Because you know what, Nyari, I reflected and I also noted that sometimes GBV does not only affect women, the effects. Because I always tell people that, when women are abused, for example, even the public health system is actually also burdened because a person has been beaten, they are injured, they need medication. So, the medication that is supposed to go towards treating malaria, tuberculosis, and other diseases is also being channeled towards, and even the children that we raise. If I'm abusing my wife, even the children that you are raising, obviously they're affected. So it actually affects the whole ecosystem. So it's not a women issue, but it's a societal issue.
Absolutely. I think you do raise such powerful sentiments. And I want to take you back to something that's very profound, that you said, the normalization of abuse. And so for me, some of the things that really stun me, like I get stunned or shocked and
precisely.
Are the fact that sometimes as a young man you realize that your anambuyazi and them, maybe your sisters or the women around you are being abused, and people normalizing that. One of the things that maybe a few reactions that I would want you and I to dig deeper on is, first of all, sometimes the women don't find anything wrong with being beaten. I think you and I have been have seen researches where a woman answered to say, if you burnt murio, if you burnt the relish, do you think your husband should beat you? And they said, yeah, I deserve to be beat. Women were saying, I would deserve to be beat. Men will say, yes, I deserve, my wife would deserve that. So for example, those are some of the things when you're like, normalizing gender-based violence is when people see gender-based violence and they don't see anything wrong. And I always like to bring an example when we started talking about child marriages, for example. I remember there was a big debate, a lot of men saying, oh, there's no child marriages. What are you talking about? And I was like, just think about the many young women or many young girls who came home late. Maybe they were with their friends or boyfriends. And I know one of the young women who changed the child marriages law, Ruvimbo Topodzi, actually was forced to marry someone she was not even in love with, because the father, which is a typical setup or scenario in our society, to say a girl comes home late, maybe this is 5, 6 o'clock or 7, and then she said, who were you with? Go back there. And you are married off. So those are some of the things that people see and say it's normal, when it's actually not normal. So just coming to the normalization of gender-based violence, to say, when you started this work, the women in your ecosystem, were they aware that this was wrong? That's number one. Number two, how easy was it for you as a man to actually say, this is wrong? And I'm also thinking that you had to come to a place as a man again where you say, this is not who I want to be. Because I imagine that you were raised in patriarchy, you've seen these things happening. And a lot of men are normalized to think gender-based violence is. So maybe if you can just take me back there to tell us, unpack how it was for you, to your own change or your own epiphany, to say, no, this is wrong. You accepting that, and then the situation of the women in your life, and also the men, when you begin to talk about these things.
GBV is normalized. I think I would want to address the first question around the women in the ecosystem. I remember at one point, let me just give a very practical life example. At one point, I was doing GBV work. I was raising awareness on GBV in a certain community, much central. So we're actually addressing a group of women. And I was actually educating them about the dangers of GBV, what they should do when they're abused and all those things, where they should report and all those things. So I think I was with my colleague then, and I spent about maybe 30, 40 minutes trying to explain to them what GBV is and its effects and all those things. Then after I finished the session, one woman just raised her hand and she said, you know what, all this that you're saying, I don't think apply in our culture. It's actually a taboo. If you're in love, if you're married to a husband and he's not abusing you.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what she said. She said it's unheard of. It's a taboo. She said it's not social. You must be abused. Wow. If the husband is not abusing you, then he doesn't love you.
Wow.
That's what the woman said. And surprisingly, all the other women agreed to that woman.
Wow. And now imagine a young woman who has that knowledge that this is wrong, and she tries from a community like that to say, I've been abused by my husband. The amount of all those women who rise up and say, this is normal, get over yourself.
Exactly. They actually said if you get to, even in marriage, if you get to about 3 years without being abused by your husband, then the marriage will not succeed.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And they say, I then ask them to say, okay, what if he doesn't like to beat you? Yeah. What do you do?
Wow.
And they said, you don't know, you have to do something so that he beats you. So I'm just trying to tell you how
the
normalization process. But you and me know that there, even in the communities, we have seen people dying. We have seen people getting disabled and all those things because of GBV. So it's not a normal thing. But now society is actually normalized. And for me, really, to be honest with you, like what I explained earlier, on my experience, especially my professional experience, and also my academic training, because in sociology, we deal a lot with issues around social inequalities, gender-based violence. And during that training, as I was also going through school, I was also trying to reflect on my personal experiences, the women that I grew up witnessing being abused. And I then made a stance to say, no, this is very wrong. I made a commitment to say, even if I get married, I will not.
Is the woman married to you?
Yeah, so I believe, personally, I believe in challenging some norms. That's what I believe. Because, for example, if in our culture, they say a normal man should have so many girlfriends. But I tell myself, no. These are the things that are being done by everyone. So there's nothing ordinary. You have to be extraordinary.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to actually challenge the status quo if you want to be an outlier.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are the things.
But what if you don't want to be an outlier?
Not an outlier as in to be seen by the people, but I believe doing things that are not being done by everyone is display.
What motivates that? Why and how would someone come to a place where they're like, I want to be an outlier, I want to be different?
I think it's because, like what I said, through my training, through my background, I realized that everyone else was doing that. But I then discovered, no, that's not normal. That's not natural. Right. And that's not right.
Okay, the principle of it being not right.
Exactly. It's not right. So even if everyone else is normalizing these things, but the reality is that it's not right.
So bring us back to the women. Do you feel like your efforts, that intervention that you were having in that community, do you feel like it was useful and fruitful because those women think that it's normal for them to be beat? How did that conversation end?
Now, the good thing about, awareness raising, and especially when trying to change the, shifting norms, usually it takes a bit long. Right. And I remember I was in that community for about 3 to 4 years. Okay. Yeah. So by the time we concluded the project, I think, the perceptions, the beliefs have changed. So I think in my view, it changed it. Because I also actually liked the fact that they were very open to highlight their beliefs. Then we started working on that. Absolutely. So yeah, in the end, we actually ended up having some champions who were then speaking against violence in that community. And I would say it's not easy, Nyari, to be an advocate. Because really, when you're talking about gender-based violence, in our culture is actually regarded as something that is Western. And for us as men, you know what it means. Yeah. And some actually feel that we are also even challenging their power and all those things. But for me, really, what I'm always saying is let's just do it. Let's just do what's right. Yeah. If I don't want to be beaten, why should I beat my wife?
Do you want to be beaten? Exactly. As a man, do you want? And I think that takes us to deepening the conversations around the issue of cheating.
Exactly.
So when you did say that it feels like men have gotten luxury to say, oh, I'm not going to cheat because I want to be the outlier. And women are expected to not cheat.
Yes.
Or else the consequences
are
much bigger. Let's talk about that.
Well, it's another issue. I think for me, really, those are some of the things that perpetuate gender-based violence.
Right.
Because if you are normalizing, I'm a Christian, and I believe it's also a sin to do those things. But unfortunately, in our culture, it's more like normalized. But personally, also the principle that I believe is that what do unto others what you want them to do unto you.
There's also a conversation around which culture.
Exactly.
Because those who know our cultures will tell you that we never treated women that way. We never were abusive of women. We treated women, we would have to agree. But I mean, it's a whole conversation around polygamy and stuff. But we want to talk about the issue of economic empowerment. So yeah, we have laid ground about gender-based violence, how it manifests. How would you advise a young couple that is so deeply in love, that is starting out at life, so much so that there is no disparities, there's no injustice where a woman gets into a marriage and they're economically disempowered, and a man gets into a marriage and then they rise, and that's usually with money comes power. That's where you then find, as you rightfully stated earlier on, to say where there is an absence of money in a woman's life, usually they are prone to abuse. Not to say, I'm not trying to say that women with money are not abused. We are just saying the gravity and the levels of vulnerability for a woman without money is bigger. So what conversations, what scenarios can be mapped by a young couple as they're getting into marriage right now to say, how do we empower each other to grow as individuals?
Thank you so much. That's a very important. I think the way that I would give to young people, number one, when actually getting into a relationship, I always tell young people, normalize very tough conversations.
Right.
Yeah, because there's that thing that's called compatibility. So if you are perhaps if you're a young person who's at university and you're dating a person, and whenever you're talking about assignments, they're always say, I know what, the school is useless. Let's go to Makoruduchi. They do have money. And there are chances that maybe when you get married, you say, no, here we don't do school. We do this.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's about then having those tough conversations to say, okay, when you get married, what is your perceptions around careers? What are your perceptions around education? Then you are very clear right from the onset. Because personally, I believe there's this verse in the Bible which says two are better than one. If one falls, then one rests up the other.
Right.
Personally, I believe marriage should help you to achieve your God-given purpose.
Absolutely.
So if marriage is not helping you to do that, then it means that union is a serious problem.
Right.
Personally, I'll give my personal experience. I married my wife when she didn't have anything.
Wow.
She was actually also, maybe because of background issues, she had not finished her school.
Wow.
And she enrolled for Poly. She completed a diploma in finance.
Wow.
After completing the diploma, she then went to university. She graduated with a degree in IT.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I actually noticed that my wife, has potential. She's actually, I always tell people that she's actually smarter than me.
Wow.
And I picked that. And I said, you know what? She can compliment me.
So a lot of men are afraid to send. Sorry, you're going to go. But then just throwing in the fact that a lot of men fear to send their wives to school just because they feel like, when she gets better, she's going to leave me. But that's so I was saying the marriage should help you to achieve your God-given purpose, because at the end of the day, we need to complement each other. So the moment you start competing, like what you were saying, when people are thinking that when my wife goes to school, then she starts challenging men, it means they are competing. Right. They are not complementing each other. I am a social scientist. My wife is an IT person. She's very good with figures. So automatically complement each other. Even in terms of how we make our decisions. When we need to make ideas that need figures and all those things, my wife will lead. When it's about social issues, perhaps I can also take the leadership. You know what I mean? Right.
So it's about complementing each other.
So now the problem that we have a lot is, I think, ego, where our men are misinformed or not very well educated to say there are a lot of men who are not even willing to acknowledge what you just said, which is so powerful. The fact that a woman can actually have skills that you don't have, or God has given you, those unique gifts to acknowledge that my wife actually is good in this and I'm good in this. And I think at that point in marriage, I don't know why I feel like, wow, this is a wow revelation right now. To say that, I think that's the epitome why God created marriage. To bring people together from different. This one is unique, this one is unique. And I think the challenge is we are having people who are looking for their duplicates, or usually that are going to fit societal templates. But when you begin to say, my wife is good in this, my husband is good in this, and the fact that you then say, oh, in numbers, let me hear what my wife said. We have the problem with men who think they know it all, who are not going to ask their wife, who think that they must make all the decisions, and the wife must submit. Submission means she must not be heard. I must make all the decisions. But please continue.
So I think I'll go back to the issue of the young people. So our young people should not get into relationships that are not contributing anything to their personal goals.
Right.
Yeah. So you need to, I think young people should know themselves. What do you want in life? And what kind of a person do you want to spend the whole life with? You need a cheerleader.
Right.
When I'm doing something, I need a cheerleader. When my wife is doing something, I need a cheerleader. Imagine I'm coming here for the interview and she tells me, I know you're going to do well. And she's going there, I know you're going to do well. I'll support her. So I think it's finding someone who is able to support. I always tell people that marriage is one of the strongest partnership that if it's utilized well, it can actually contribute to economic prosperity.
Absolutely.
So if you're working together, both the husband and the wife, you are likely to achieve more because you are working in partnership. Other than just saying, I'm the only one who has the capacity, but about the other skill that you're abandoning, the other potential that you're abandoning. So I think marriage is for me, is one of the greatest partnerships that can contribute to a family's economic prosperity. I always say that it contributes to gross domestic product, GDP, the family. So you notice that, those people who don't work together as a couple, for me, really, I think they are missing a lot. And you know what, Nyari? One thing that people forget, especially in our context, we work for hand to mouth. Mostly. We have not managed to invest like our colleagues from the West. So if I'm centering all the family economic activities on me, it means the day I die and my family becomes miserable.
Precisely.
Family becomes, and I think that's being very sad.
And that's why I think as Black people, especially in Africa, we've failed to create generational wealth. Because as you rightfully say, the wealth is centered around the father. And upon your going, the wife does not even know where to start. If it was a business that is running, the business just goes with him. If it was, there's that, and I love how you have done it. So how do you advise a family that is starting together? And also, it has to be said that women also have to be responsible as well. Like I can imagine also sending someone to school. There have been cases here, one or two, where someone was sent to school and then she leaves the family. But I think there is usually abuse there. So for example, if someone has been abused and then even if you send them to school and if the situation has been abusive, you're not going to pester the abuse because of education. But also there has to be the conversation around women being also responsible. I remember in one episode I said sometimes us as women, we come in and we say, oh, my money is my money, your money is our money. I think it's also changing those narratives to then say, if we're working together, yes, the husband is still responsible for the family, but we are a partner because we are the women who are saying we want the partnership. And so if it's a partnership, then let's bring resources together. And so what are some of the nuggets you'd give to a young couple?
I think as a young couple, when you're getting into a relationship, know that it's God who made it possible for you to meet and for a reason. Right. So when you're meeting, I think you need to set your priorities to say, where do you want to go as a couple? What do you want to achieve? And how do you achieve our set objectives? So I think for me, it's really about having very serious conversations in terms of what you want to do. And also just respecting the fact that you are different. and you have different strengths and capacities. So you have to utilize those. So there's nobody who should get, for me personally, I believe that nobody should get into the marriage with superiority complex, thinking that I may be more superior than the other. But it has to be a partnership.
These men are taught that you're the father of the house.
No, I always tell men that fatherhood or being a husband is a position of leadership.
Right.
And leadership is not dictatorship.
Simba.
No. Leadership, both the wife and the husband, we are leaders, but in different capacities. So leadership is not about dictatorship. It's about influencing. If I get to a point where I have to force my wife to listen to what I say or to respect me, that means I have failed. Because leaders influence with good behavior, positive behavior, something like that. So if my wife is looking at me, she must look at me as maybe somebody who is there to support. And that's how I should also look at her. And that's a relationship. That is how we are supposed to want to be. So I think as young couples, you need to know that when you're getting into a marriage, it should help you to achieve your God-given goals. And if it fails that, then that relationship for me is not working.
Ooh, I love that. What is marriage serving? Marriage is supposed to serve you achieving your God-given calling. I love that. I love that. And what would you say to women who also are just getting into relationships, perhaps to self-advance? We're in the month of love. It is we're having this conversations about love and money because we are in February and we just want to maximize on this. There's a conversation that's being said that women are getting into marriages for economic reasons. So maybe there's the absence of money. I mean, the absence of love, but they're seeing money.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, I don't know why people get into marriage. But my personal thinking is that when a person is getting into marriage, they should get into marriage for love and perhaps for maybe establishing a family. Marriage should not be an income generating project. Because the moment you get into marriage because you want to get money, what will happen when that man runs out? Because people die and they may die with their
money. Or people will get broke.
And they'll get broke.
Or they lose jobs.
Exactly. They lose jobs.
Cycles.
And they may decide even to leave you. What will happen? So I think my advice to my sisters is that when you're getting into marriage, don't look at your husband as an ATM machine, but look at him as your supporter, as somebody whom you are traveling the journey of life with. Absolutely. And also you shouldn't also then bury your own potential. God also gave you something that you can achieve. So many of us, perhaps some women, we end up just relaxed. I know I'm married, money is coming, and all those things. But like what I said earlier, it's hand to mouth. Right. We are not even investing. When the person dies, the husband dies, the woman will cry like nobody's business. Not because it's because of the pain of losing a husband, but it's thinking about the number that is coming. You know what I mean? Right. So I think we need to continuously improve. And you know what, Nyari? A person should always aim at self-improvement. Always. Because where there's no improvement, there's death. Once this tree stops growing, it dies. Right. It's dying. Yeah. So it's important for us as a woman to I'm married, but still I have a purpose in life. You need to then to be able to identify what is my purpose, even though I'm married. And they can contribute even to the development and the well-being. Because things do happen in life. The husband might get injured, job loss. And
I mean, like you said, really, two are better than one.
Exactly.
The force of a double income. It's powerful.
It's powerful.
It takes you to holidays that one income cannot.
Exactly. You know? So love should be love, not an income generating project. Of course.
But also guys are getting in as well for money.
Precisely. People are getting in for money. And in the end, when that money, runs out, when something happens, then that love is baseless. Right. Yeah. So I also try, my advice actually that I always want to give to men is also to ensure that you are not centering everything on you as a man. Right. I do construction. I'm into construction. Right. I do some fencing business. Okay. It's a male dominated. Yeah. But I tell you, my wife is now able to do those things. Because we do together. We are going to take the measurements.
Family business.
It's a family business. Because what I've done is to ensure that even if I'm no longer there, if it happens that I'm no longer there perhaps because of some circumstance, well, I should be able to continue.
And maintain the lifestyle of the family.
I always tell people, Nyari, but they have a car for 7 years, but the wife doesn't have a license.
There are people like that. They feel like it's part of amassing power to say, I must keep this power. Once she starts driving, she's going to see her relatives and they lose power as a man. They find value in just being able to do things that the wife can't.
But if you then reason from another perspective, what happens?
Well, I know of a man who has given a relative the second car and has not made an effort for their wife to drive. So they'll call the relative.
Yeah, that's too much. It means that relationship has some issues. Yeah, because it's a relationship that's not based on trust, but perhaps some
love even.
It's not based on love. So as we are getting into the month of love, I think we need to redefine what love is.
Absolutely.
For me, I think love should make us, not break us.
Right.
That's what I think.
Absolutely.
When I'm loving somebody, when I'm loving somebody, in a way, I should just be, especially for me as the husband, even the wife can do that. I should be able to identify, to say, you know what, I took this wife, she's my lover. How can I improve? How can I make her better?
Better than I found it.
Exactly. So that even when I die, or maybe when I'm no longer.
And also, this is for women. How can you make this man better?
Exactly. So that, when I look at my wife, I should be proud of the contribution that I've done in her life. And she should also be proud of how she has contributed in my life. So I think that's the whole essence of life.
Amazing. Alois, thank you so much for spending so much time pouring your heart to women and men of our nation, of the world, of Africa, so that we would build the Africa that we love. Alois, before you go, we've got a tradition on this show.
Okay.
That you need to sing us a song.
Oh.
Whatever, whether you are a good singer or you sing in the shower, whatever, your favorite song, just give us a little chorus. Okay.
So these days I fall in love with that song by Pastor Michael Mahendra, Minister Michael Mahendra.
Yeah.
It says, "Tineke chingoti Messiah, Messiah, Muno Shamisa, Imi Messiah."
Thank you for blessing us. I hope you have enjoyed having Alois here. He's a preacher. He's a social justice activist. He's passionate. He's an author.
Yes, I forgot to mention that.
He's an author. He's on social media. I follow him. He's always posting lovely messages that are constructive. He sends all these nuggets as Alois Nyamazana. You can follow his Facebook page. And of course, you can follow us, Identities with Nyari Mashayamombe, our empowerment podcast. And you can also follow me on Nyari Mashayamombe, Advocate Nyari Mashayamombe. But most importantly, if you liked any of the things that we said today, please like, comment, and share. And follow our YouTube channel. And follow us. Invite people to follow. We want this message to reach as many people. Invite your family and everybody. But until next time, I really want to thank the crew behind the scene. Have a good one.